Let's gamble on that copyright system one last time. So, with Final Fantasy coming out soon and costing way too freaking much, who is buying Final Fantasy stuff at the price that Wizards is asking? I'm sorry, but no amount of licensing fees is going to make up for the fact that they are basically asking 2.5 Nintendo Switches worth for, a collector booster box. I don't know who that's for. I don't know who's supposed to be buying that, but it's somebody with way too much liquid cash who does not need to be playing card games. They need to be making real estate investments. But in the event that you are actually going to be getting some of the Final Fantasy stuff and you decide to pick up the starter kit deck thingy, then that's going to come with a copy of Cloud Planet's Champion. So let's go ahead and talk about how we are going to be building this monstrous boy. Cloud Planet's Champion is a Boros equipment commander. Shocker, I know. We have never seen one of those before. So the real question is, why would you run him over any other equipment commander? And the answer is fairly simple to me. Not only does he gain Indestructible and Double Strike on your turn, but he also has an ability that says that all of your equip abilities are discounted as long as you are equipping to Cloud. This means if we are running cards that benefit very greatly from having an equip cost of 2 that gets abused, then Cloud is going to give us lots and lots of dividends for his ability. And of course, that Indestructible means we can play far more aggro than Voltron normally gets to, because we don't even have to wait until we have Evasion to start turning him sideways at people. So, what kinds of equipments are we going to be abusing with Cloud? Well, Bloodforged Battle Axe is the first one that comes to mind for me. It gives 2-0, and whenever our creature deals combat damage to a player, we make a token that is a copy of the Bloodforged Battle Axe. And of course, because these all have an equip cost of 2, then Cloud is going to be discounting all of these greatly. And while we are equipping tons of cards to Cloud, we should be able to have Branor out to not only give us Edict protection, but also to give Cloud 2-0 for every equipment that's attached to him, meaning that he is going to be gaining a lot more power than normal. Let's also throw in Golem Skim Gauntlets, which will give Cloud 1-0 for every equipment we are shoving onto the boy, and a Hero's Blade, which will automatically attach to Cloud, giving him 3-2, making him a 7-6, which, while not the greatest thing in the entire world, for the budget we are working with, it is doing a lot of work. Then we have to ask ourselves the age-old question that every single player who's playing Voltron has to get comfortable with, and that is, how do we get our commander in there to do its job? And for that, we are going to be running 10 cards to give Cloud various forms of evasion. Dwarven Hammer gives him 3-0 and Trample, and of course, will also give us a token to protect us from various edict effects. Kite Sail will give him 1-0 and Flying. Raven Wings give him 1-0 and Flying and turns him into a bird. Cloak of the Bat gives him Flying and Haste. Hero's Heirloom gives him 2-1 and Trample and Haste. Forebear's Blade gives him 3-0 Vigilance and Trample. Haunted Cloak gives him Vigilance, Trample, and Haste. Fleet Feather Sandals gives him Flying and Haste. O Naginata gives him 3-0 and Trample. And Tenza Godo's Maul gives him 2-2, or gives him 3-3 and Trample. So, if you'll notice with each and every one of these cards, they, with the exception of Forebear's Cloak for the most part, all cost 2 to equip. Well, again, the Dwarven Hammer doesn't count here because it's also giving us the benefit of giving us a red dwarf to protect us from edict effects. But Fleet Feather Sandals cost 2, O Naginata costs 2, Tenzo costs 1, Haunted Cloak costs 1. All of these are going to cost us barely anything to attach to Cloud. Let's also give Cloud some protection. Plate Armor gives him Ward 1 and 3-3. Mirror Shield gives him 0-2 Hexproof and protection from Death Touch. Mask of Absent gives him 1-2 and Hexproof. And Thran Power Suit gives him 1-1 for every aura and equipment that is attached to him and gives him Ward 2. And with the exception of the Mask of Absent and the Plate Armor, all of these cost 2 to equip. So Cloud is going to be able to equip all of these super, super easy. Let's also have some reanimation for these various equipped cards. Sun Titan and Mantle of the Ancients should be able to get back any of these powerful equipments if we happen to lose them. And we need to make sure that we are getting more than just evasive keywords on Cloud, so let's make sure that Ring of Volkos can give him Haste, Ring of Thune can give him Vigilance, Butcher's Cleaver can give him Lifelink, and Masterwork Ingenuity can be used to clone any of our powerful equipment effects. All of these together should give us the kind of advantage we are looking for in a Voltron deck. The ability to swing him sideways without fear and cause a maximum damage. And because Cloud is giving us the indestructible clause and the double strike clause, it means that we don't have to run basic stuff like Fire Shrieker that we normally would put into a deck like this. So, with all that said, that's the core of our deck taken care of. What are we doing to get through our deck? There is a common refrain at my card shop, because there is one player there who plays a lot of Boros decks, and that is Boros decks succumb to Boros problems. In fact, we've basically truncated it a long time ago to just Boros problems. And what are Boros problems? Well, an inability to draw cards when the time comes for you to need to draw lots of cards. So we are going to be trying to fix our draw section with two basic principles. One, more draw than I would normally run in a deck. We are running 13 as opposed to my usual 10. And two, maximizing out the power of utility lands. Let's go into our draw section, and then when I get to the lands, we'll talk about what we are doing there. For our draw, Tormented Voice lets us draw 2 cards after discarding a card. Thrill of Possibility does the same thing. Quarrel's End does the same thing, but it also gives us a 1/1 Human Soldier token we can use to protect ourselves from Fleshbag Marauder and Edict effects. Thrilling Discovery lets us discard 2 cards to draw 3 cards. Brainstone lets us do a Brainstorm ability, but as an artifact. Magmatic Insight ditches a land to draw us 2 cards. Dangerous Wager discards our whole hand to draw 2 cards. Use this when you have no cards left in your hand. Decaying Time Loot lets us wheel our hand anytime we discard a land. We can just keep doing it over and over and over again. Invasion of Kaldheim lets us wheel our hand away with the ability to cast any cards we wheeled away for the next 2 turns. And of course, Kaldheim does flip into Pyre the World Tree, which allows us the ability to get impulse draw when we discard land cards. And since most of our draw requires us to discard cards, this card can serve to be a very powerful enchantment for us. Then we have Seize the Spoils to draw 2 cards after discarding a card, and we get a treasure out of it. Pirate's Pillage does the same thing, but it gives us 2 treasures. Mask of Memory allows us to draw 2 cards and discard a card anytime Cloud punches somebody in the left testicle. And then, of course, Aster, Bearer of Blades, enters the battlefield, looks at the top 7 cards of our library, puts any equipment or vehicle card from among them into our hand, and throws the rest onto the bottom of our deck. And it makes our equipments have equip 1, meaning all of our equipments that normally cost 3 to equip now cost 0 to equip, because Aster is discounting them to 1, and then Cloud is discounting them even further than that. It also has an ability that works great for vehicles, but we're never going to be using it for that particular ability. And like I said, all of this is going to be supplemented by the deck's secondary draw engine in the lands, which we will talk about when we get there. But for now, we do have to talk about how the deck is going to be handling our opponent's resources and how we are going to be truncating those resources so that we do not end up falling behind. Let's go ahead and run 9 pieces of removal and interaction, and we would run more if we had the ability to, but in my experience, Voltron decks do suffer when they try to be just control decks, unless the deck is Sephiroth. That's a bit of a different story. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about what we are running here. Stroke of Midnight gets rid of any problematic card that isn't a land. Valorous Stance can give Cloud indestructible and also blow up creatures with power 4 or greater. Banishing Slash can get rid of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments, and then we make a 2/2 white samurai afterwards, which we can use to protect ourselves from edict effects. Make Your Move gets rid of an artifact, enchantment, or a creature. Cathar Commando is a creature that comes down at flash speed, again, protecting us from edicts, while also blowing up artifacts or enchantments. Reduce to Memory exiles any non-land permanent while gifting an opponent a 3/2 red-white spirit creature token. Abrade gets rid of a creature or an artifact, and Rip Apart gets rid of a creature, artifact, or enchantment. And Duragar Hedgemaids gets rid of an artifact and an enchantment so long as we have a mountain and a plains. The Hedgemaids also has the wonderful ability of, once again, being a creature that allows us to defend ourselves from Fleshbag Marauder and other styles of edict effects. And I know I keep harping on this, but the enemy of a Voltron deck is the edict effect, because you cannot block it with indestructible or hexproof. It just kind of happens to you. And cards like Duragar Hedgemaids do give us protection from that merely by being on the board and absorbing one of those effects. We are also going to be running 3 board wipes in the deck, and none of these hurt Cloud. Promise of Loyalty lets everybody pick their favorite child, kill the rest, and then that favorite child can't punch you in the left nostril. Single Combat gets everybody buddies boards wiped except for a singular creature, and then Divine Reckoning allows us to blow up every single card on the board except for a singular creature once again. And it has flashback, so we can use this card more than once. And that does it for all of our removal. All in all, this should be plenty of stuff to stop our opponents from doing important things. While 12 cards of removal is a bit less than I would like to use, some of the equipment that could remove stuff for us is a bit outside of the deck's price point. So that just leaves mana. Let's get into it. We are going to be running 10 cards to ramp, and then we are going to be having a very extensive land package. But first, let's talk about Charitable Levy. This makes non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast, which can hurt us, but usually just hurts our opponents. And then after all of the 3 spells have been cast that Charitable Levy can stifle a little bit, then afterwards it will kill itself, draws a card, and get us a plains out of our deck, which means we can get dual lands with this. Explorer Scope lets us get lands from the top of the deck when we swing with our commander, and then Marble Diamond, Fire Diamond, and Mindstone are all generic 2 mana rocks in our deck. For 4 mana rocks, we are going to be running a Stone Speaker Crystal and a Hedron Archive, as these can be sacrificed to either draw us cards, which Boros needs, or in the event that you're using a Stone Speaker Crystal, this can be used to get rid of all of our opponent's graveyards. Also, to make sure that Cloud comes out a turn earlier than Curve, a Worn Power Stone is fantastic. We'll also have an Honored Heirloom to have us have more ways to get rid of things in graveyards. And finally, a Wayfarer's Bauble, because like the Charitable Levy, land grab is the best kind of ramp, as it is the safest kind of ramp. For lands, we're going to be running 6 plains and 7 mountains, based on the draw engine being very, very heavy red. And then for dual lands, we're going to be running a Temple of Triumph to scry early, a Boros Garrison to reset utility lands, Sacred Peaks because it says plains on it, so we can rip it out of our deck with Charitable Levy, Fury Calm Snarl, which lets us just have an untapped land, which is fantastic, Sunscorched Divide because Wizards knows how to reprint filter lands apparently, and Command Tower since it is just a basic dual land in our deck. For fetching lands, let's make sure we have the mana fixing abilities of Promising Vein and Shire Terrace. These come down as regular lands that are colorless, but then can be sacrificed later to get more lands up. Then we have Escape Tunnel, Evolving Wilds, and Terramorphic Expanse. These can all grab a tapped basic land out of the deck. Ash Barrens can be cycled out of the hand in order to grab a basic land, and Myriad Landscape can yank 2 basic lands out of the deck, effectively being ramp. After that, we are running a whopping 14 utility lands, and most of these are just going to say draw in some form or fashion. Night Market can be cycled if we need to draw a different land or a different card, and also this card can be any mana type that we need. Secluded Steppe, Desert of the Fervent, Desert of the True, Forgotten Cave, Drifting Meadow, Smoldering Crater. All of these are lands that have cycling on them so that we can use them whenever we need in order to gain access to different cards in our deck. Then we have lands that can let us get more draw power as well. Archivore Zaka can be used to draw cards if we spend 5 mana. Bonder's Enclave can draw cards if we have 4 mana. And then we have a Mariposa Military Base, which draws cards if we have 5 mana, but it costs less if we have rad counters, which we never will have, so let's not even worry about that. Pit of Offerings can be used to harm our opponents greatly by getting rid of problematic cards in their graveyards. Slayer's Stronghold can give our Cloud 2/0 and Vigilance and Haste. Rogue's Passage can make our Cloud unable to be blocked, and Sunhome Fortress Legion can give any creature double strike until end of turn. We can use this as a political piece, and we can also use this to make things like our Sun Titan hit a little harder in the event that we need that. There are also some layering situations where Sunhome Fortress of the Legion can give Cloud double strike after he has lost double strike, but most of the time this is just going to be a colorless land, which doesn't hurt us much because we are running a mostly colorless deck. And that does it for the entirety of the deck. Pretty simple. We just want to put Cloud down, make him big, and then hit opponents for big Buster Sword style damage. But if you are wanting to upgrade this deck a little bit, let's talk about how to play it, and then we'll talk about how to upgrade it. I'm going to be honest, any hand that has both of your colors, the ability to get Cloud out and a couple of equipments is probably good in my book. I'm perfectly okay with a hand that has 3 lands here, a draw spell, a Hedron Archive, and 2 equipments. So let's go ahead and start our stuff out. Here's an Evolving Wilds. Let's go ahead and crack it and yank out a Plains out of the deck. Putting that here, tapped, passing to our opponents. Moving into turn 2, we have a Rogue's Passage. Let's go ahead and play that down. Tap 1, 2, and let's go ahead and put this Hero's Heirloom on the battlefield. Moving into the next turn, we have a mountain available to us. We can put the Haunted Cloak down. I think that's probably the move, so let's go ahead and play that mountain. Tap 1, 2, 3. Here's the Haunted Cloak. This will make Cloud very, very powerful when he does his stuff. Passing on to our opponents, and we move into turn 4. I would have loved the ability to ramp into Cloud a little more seamlessly, but we didn't really get that. So let's put Secluded Steps onto the battlefield tapped, and then tap 1, 2, 3 to play Seize the Spoils. This will discard a card from our hand and then draw us 2 cards while also generating a single token that we can use for mana later. And let's go ahead and crack that token and just pull out the Explorer's Scope and pass to our opponents. We move into turn 5, and we have a Hero's Blade and a Mask of Evasion. I'm going to be honest, our options are fairly straightforward here. We could get Cloud out, but Cloud would not be protected from everything he could, so let's go ahead and play a Mountain. 1, 2, 3, 4. Play the Hedron Archive, and let's tap that Hedron Archive to play Mask of Evasion and pass to our opponents. That way, when the next turn comes up, we can tap 1, 2, or 1. We're just going to go ahead and get that Hero's Blade out, and then tap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here is Cloud. Yes, it's at turn 6, but Cloud will automatically be able to equip every single equipment we have played thus far. So let's go ahead and do some calculations and see what Cloud looks like. As of this exact moment, Cloud is a 10 power double striker with flying and haste and indestructible and hexproof. So let's go ahead and punch an opponent with him. Look at the top card of our deck. It's a Cloak of the Bat, and we do not get to use that, so it goes right back on top of our deck because of our Explorer Scope. And, well, let's see here. After that, I'll pass to our opponent. He has hexproof. It's very likely he gets to stick around. So we draw that Cloak of the Bat, which would give him flying and haste. He already has both of those things, so we don't need to worry about that at all. Or does he have flying right now? He has trample, not flying at the moment. So we could give him flying right now. Let's go ahead and do that. Tap the Hedron Archive. Boom. Cloud has flying. And based on what's in our hand, I think I want to dig for some more answers. So let's play Pirate's Pillage. Boop. Draw 2, and get 2 treasures. While this doesn't give us a super strong hand, it's not the end of the world here. We can still use the Tormenting Voice. I don't think we need to do that, though. Let's punch with Cloud, reveal the top. It's not a land, so it goes here, and that's going to be 1 player eliminated out of the game. We move into turn 8, and let's go ahead and wipe everybody's boards out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Single combat. Everybody's boards get wiped clean except for, us. And then we pay 1, 2, Tormenting Voice, discarding this mountain to draw 2 cards. That's a Worn Power Stone and Decayed Time Loop, and another dead player. And it can just go on and on from here. This is the general strategy of Voltron. You've punched somebody in the face so hard that they have picked up their cards and gone to a different table. And that's just how it's going to work. But what would you do if you wanted to upgrade the deck a little more? Well, I have a really straightforward answer to that. Alright, this upgrade path is gonna be really funny because, well, while there are cards I'm gonna talk about like Celestial Armor, which can protect our commander, Two-Handed Axe and Legion Leadership, which can be used to double his already powerful double strike ability, cards that draw like SRAM, and cards like Trailblazer's Boot, which can be used to give him non-basic land walk, and of course, the fact that he has Indestructible when he swings means cards like Blasphemous Act can be even more powerful. And protecting him with Robe of the Stars is a great ability as well, and, well, with all of the different equipments on the board, then Nettlecyst is going to be fantastic, and why not go ahead and put something really dumb into the deck to make him an instant one-hit kill, like Excalibur Sword of Eden. All of these are fantastic cards to put in the deck, but there is one meme that you can truly live with Cloud, and I think you should live it to its fullest, just the absolute nines of memery that you can possibly get to. And that is, of course, by playing every single card that says Sword of. All of them uniquely say Equip to, which means all of these can equip to Cloud for nothing. They all give Cloud protection from 2 different colors and all have various abilities. Light and Shadow allows you to return 1 creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Then, of course, you have Sword of Once and Future, which allows you to cast instants or sorcery spells from your graveyard. Forge and Frontier, which allow you to Impulse Draw. War and Peace, which allow you to deal a lot of damage to players. Of the Animus, which isn't like these Sword ofs, but it still says Sword of, and it allows you to ramp, which is fantastic. Sword of Fire and Ice, which can be used to deal 2 damage to any target and give you draw power. Feast and Famine, which can be used to get rid of cards in their hand and give you a free extra main phase, effectively, since you are getting more lands untapped with it. Wealth and Power, which generates treasure tokens and allows you to copy instants and sorceries in your deck. Body and Mind, which allows you to mill the top 10 cards of any player and gives you more wolves when you attack, which also gives you protection from edict effects. Sword of Sinew and Steel, which allows you to get rid of planeswalkers and artifacts. And then, of course, Truth and Justice, which can allow you to put 1/1 counters on Cloud and then proliferate. All of these swords do a ton of work. Way too much work. Just throw every single Sword of you possibly can manage into the deck, because they all equip for exactly what Cloud wants cards to equip for. They are fantastic, and this is one of the best decks to actually utilize Sword ofs in. They all come down before Cloud, and they all attach to Cloud very quickly, and they all protect Cloud from various effects. That all said, if you have not already consider checking out my stream, please consider doing so. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, I have a politics channel for those of you who want to keep up with current events. I also have a shop over at Fourth Wall where I'm selling a wonderful playmat for the next 2 months, and then we also have a Patreon where you can support me and what I do if you feel obliged to. Finally, you're already on this channel. Please consider supporting this channel by following and subscribing and doing all that fun stuff, clicking the bell notification icon, all of that. I would greatly appreciate it. That all said, thank you all for watching. Thank you for being here. I could not run this channel without all of you viewing, and as always, everybody, insert end of video tagline here. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full-time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Briskreek, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravelern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fire Shard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press, though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.